Hello, BKFK listeners. This is our last episode for 2022. Thank you so much for all of your support this year. Thanks to all the talented performers. Thanks for all the wonderful messages and suggestions. Thanks for sharing the show with all of your friends and family. And most of all, thank you all for listening. It has been so much fun for all of us. We have one more message from a very special BKFK listener.
Hi, my name is Leo. I'm 5 years old from Canada. I like division and math, and I really like playing life.
Thank you, Leo. We hope you and all our listeners enjoy this story. From all of us at BKFK, have a happy new year.
The Stonecutter. Once upon a time, there lived a stonecutter who went every day to a great rock in the side of a big mountain and cut out slabs of stone for gravestones or for houses. He understood very well the kinds of stones wanted for the different purposes. And as he was a careful workman, he had plenty of customers. For a long time, he was quite happy and contented and asked for nothing better than what he had. Now, in the mountain, there lived a spirit which now and then appeared to men and helped them in many ways. The stonecutter, however, had never seen the spirit and only shook his head with an unbelieving air when anyone spoke of it.
"What utter nonsense!"
He would say,
"Spirit, schmirit. The only useful thing you'll find in this mountain is stone. Pah!"
But a time was coming when he learned to change his opinion. One day, the stonecutter carried a gravestone to the house of a rich man and saw there all sorts of beautiful things of which he had never even dreamed. Suddenly, his daily work seemed to grow harder and heavier, and he said to himself,
"Oh, if only I were a rich man and could sleep in a bed with silken curtains and gold tassels. How happy I should be!"
He heard a sound like rocks breaking, and a stony voice answered him,
"Your wish is heard. A rich man you shall be."
It was the voice of the mountain spirit. At the sound of the voice, the stonecutter looked around but could see nobody.
"I must be imagining things,"
he muttered. He picked up his tools and went home because he wasn't in the mood to do any more work that day. But when he reached the little house where he lived, he stood still with amazement, for instead of his wooden hut was a sumptuous palace filled with splendid furniture.
"And look at this bed,"
he said with wonder.
"It's even better than the one I wished for."
He was nearly beside himself with joy. And in his new life, the old life as a stonecutter was soon forgotten. It was now the beginning of summer, and each day the sun blazed more fiercely. One morning, the heat was so great that the stonecutter could hardly breathe, and he decided he would stay at home till the evening. He was rather bored because he had never learned how to amuse himself and was peeping through the closed blinds to see what was going on in the street when a little carriage passed by. In the carriage sat a prince, and over his head a golden umbrella was held to protect him from the sun's rays.
"Oh, if only I were a prince,"
said the stonecutter to himself as the carriage vanished round the corner.
"I could go in such a carriage and have a golden umbrella held over me. How happy I would be!"
And the voice of the mountain spirit rumbled and answered,
"Your wish is heard. A prince ye shall be."
And a prince he was. For his carriage rode one company of men and another behind it. Servants dressed in scarlet and gold pulled his carriage, and the coveted umbrella was held over his head. Everything his heart could desire was his. But still, he thought,
This is not enough.
he looked round, still for something to wish for. And when he saw that, in spite of the water he poured on his grass, the rays of the sun scorched it, and that in spite of the umbrella held over his head each day, his face grew more and more burnt. He cried in his anger,
The sun is mightier than I am. Oh, if I were only the sun.
and the mountain spirit answered,
Your wish is heard. The sun you shall be.
and the sun he was, and felt himself proud in his power.
Ha!
He cried. He shot his sunbeams in all directions. He burnt up the grass in the fields and scorched the faces of the helpless people below. But in a short time, he began to grow tired of his might because it seemed like there was nothing left for him to do. Discontent once more filled his soul, and when a cloud covered his face and hid the earth from him, he cried in anger.
Does the cloud hold captive my rays? And is it mightier than me? Oh, I wish I was a cloud, and mightier than everyone.
Again, the mountain spirit answered,
Your wish is heard. A cloud you shall be.
and a cloud he was, and lay between the sun and the earth. He caught the sun's beams and held them, and to his joy, the earth grew green again, and flowers blossomed. But that was not enough for him, and for days and weeks he poured forth rain till the rivers overflowed their banks, and the crops of rice stood in water. Towns and villages were destroyed by the power of the rain. Only the great rock on the side of the mountain remained unmoved. The cloud was amazed at the sight and cried in wonder,
Is the rock, then, mightier than me? Oh, if only I were the rock!
and then the mountain spirit answered,
Your wish is heard. The rock you shall be.
and the rock he was, and gloried in his power. Proudly he stood,
Neither the heat of the sun nor the force of the rain can move me. This is the best of them all.
but one day he heard a strange noise at his feet. And when he looked down to see what it could be, he saw a stone cutter driving tools into his surface.
Oi!
He shouted, but the stone cutter continued.
Oi!
Even while he looked, a trembling feeling ran through him, and a great block broke off and fell upon the ground. Then he cried angrily,
Is a mere child of earth mightier than a rock? Oh, if only I were a man!
and the mountain spirit answered,
Your wish is heard. A man once more you shall be.
and a man he was. And in the sweat of his brow, he toiled again at his trade of stone cutting. His bed was hard and his food scanty, but he had learned to be satisfied with it and did not long to be something or somebody else. And as he never asked for things he had not got or desired to be greater and mightier than other people, he was happy at last and heard the voice of the mountain spirit no longer.
Thank you for listening to this episode of By Kids for Kids Storytime, performed by Maya Degenhardt and Max and Ruby Hughes.
Hey guys, if you like this episode, please share it with your friends and family. It is one of the best ways to support BKFK Storytime.